let's start with July 4th, JR, because nobody in this world has more fun than you. And I learned that from getting to be around you, going back all the way to that 2011 playoffs when we met. So what were you guys up to for July 4th? I'm sure you had no fun whatsoever.
Well, my life is all fun. So at some point I got to relax, and we got a lot of relaxation for July 4th, to tell you the truth. And my wife and I and my son and some friends got together, just a little house party, got a little hotel room, enjoyed sitting by the pool, got to relax, did as little as possible. Got a little bit of a fireworks show in, but it was very chill, but still a lot of fun. I love celebrating America as much as I can.
What's the Jeremy Roenick drink of choice at a house party? You doing high noons or just making your own like tequila cocktails or whatever?
It depends on what's on display. Actually, I was into the wine that night, so I had a little Cabernet. The next day, I was into the margaritas, and I drink pretty much on the weekends. During the week, I kind of put it away. So I've lost 25 pounds, 30 pounds. I want to keep it off, and
nice.
Doing the alcohol stuff does not bode well for the diet.
Well, I can attest to the fact that we've had some late nights together in South Korea, venturing around the different country houses, drinking whatever the native drink, whether it was the sake bombs with our shoes off at that little hole in the wall spot in Korea. We were drinking soju, if you remember that. And then we went to the Russia house until the early hours of the morning. And of course, the next morning, JR looks good, smiling, happy. I'm like crippled, can barely walk. I can barely see straight. And JR's like, what's wrong? Well,
hey,
I tried to keep up with you.
I learned very early, you play hard, you work hard. So, that's what it is. You can never not be ready for work. And I've always been professional like that. But yeah, I got to say, my older age, I'm 54 now, boys. It's definitely toning her down a little bit. And I'm enjoying it, to tell you the truth. Yes.
Well, I'm sure once the announcement was made, I saw the viral video of you getting the call that you were in the Hockey Hall of Fame, but I'm sure there was a good celebration that night. I don't know if you get tired of talking about it. You are now being welcomed into the Hockey Hall of Fame. I mean, obviously you talked about it a little bit here, but how has it settled in now that it's been, a few weeks or so since the call has been made?
Well, I don't think you can ever get tired talking about it. I've waited for so long. And, and sometimes, they say all good things come to those that wait. And it was for sure a big surprise to me, and one that hit me extremely hard. And I was very happy with the way that it that I took it, I think, as it hit me. I mean, I did get emotional. I cried like crazy. I yelled, I screamed, I swore, I did everything possible that you would do to be excited about something. And, there are parts of me that were sad, my dad not being around to be able to see it. So there's a little bit of somberness to it, but for the most part, or for a lot of the part is just total gratitude, being humbled into the biggest, pretty much the biggest honor you can have as an athlete. Right. And, this kind of puts a big stamp on my career, and something that I'm very proud of, and I don't have to listen to people ask me anymore, when are you going to be in the Hall of Fame? And that's probably one of the best things about it. And, I thank all the people who have supported me, because it's literally everywhere I've gone, that was the number one thing that people ask me is, when is this going to happen? When's it going to happen? And I'm like, I don't know. It might happen. It might not, but it did. And I'm very, very thankful and happy, and look forward to November. It'll be a great celebration, and thank all the people that have reached out to me and, saying congratulations and giving me all of their thoughts. And it's been a very, very wild 2 weeks of conversations, of media, of friendships, texts, phone calls, everything. It's been, like I said, a lot of gratitude here.
Well, I mean, look, before the announcement, anybody who's followed the game of hockey knows that you're a Hall of Famer. I mean, whether they were going to do it or not, who knows what the reasons could or couldn't have been. And it's not even worth dwelling on them at this point, because that phone call came. But it is ridiculous that it took as long as it did. I mean, you look at your career, you look at the points, you just look at how many guys had, 1,300 points and 1,400 penalty minutes, and how many guys were point a game players in the playoff and turned it up in the biggest moments. I mean, some of the greatest moments that I got to watch as a young Flyers fan, and I know I told you this the first time I ever met you, I remember the goal against Toronto and all these big moments that you had throughout your career. And I guess maybe when that phone call comes, JR, does some of those memories and some of those things start like rerunning through your head, like your greatest moments as a player? I mean, who made that phone call to you, and sort of like, what, when you sit back and you take that breath and you're like, damn, like I'm one of the best to ever do something on the planet. I am in the most elite group of elite that there is. What, like, I can't even begin to fathom that. Like my career was not even close, right?
I didn't think of it that way, to tell you the truth. I think it's, like I said, I'm very humbled, and I'm grateful that I am there, because there was part of me that maybe thought that I wasn't going to make it. And yeah, you look at the points, you look at the goals, you look at the penalty minutes, you look at the playoff performance, and especially the clutch performances, right? I'm still in the top 3, in game 7 goals or points, and, top 16 and game winning goals all time. So those are the things that are fun to look back on. But I don't think it's really hit me. I've tried to keep it very kind of, low key, is here with me. And it's not just this. This is not just me. This is like a Hall of Fame for my family, right? So we all share in this, and we all have a lot that we all take credit for. I mean, obviously me on the ice, my wife raising my kids, being like the amazing supporter. No athlete can't do it without having the support of their family. And, this is a great celebration for all of us. And I think that's been the kind of the way that I'm looking at it. And it'll be interesting to see what November brings, in terms of what kind of speech is going to come out of me, because it's going to be very emotional. There's no question about it. And that goes through my head every day. And that's kind of really the only thing that goes through my head, is kind of how I'm going to make it through that speech on November 11th.
Well, you're not gonna have a ghostwriter.
I can attest to the fact that.
Well, I'm kind of in between, just winging it, because usually that's what I do. I just speak from my heart on most everything that I do. Whether I have a cheat sheet and just like topics that I need to hit.
Just like a few index cards.
Or if I just write out just the whole thing. It probably won't be the latter. I think when I speak from my heart, it usually is the best. But with conversations with Tracy and my son, and we'll come to a good idea and plan.
Yeah, well, I can attest to the family unit that is the Roenicks. We've obviously, and you guys have welcomed myself and now my wife, into your family. And whether it was dinner in Chicago, I mean, it has always been really cool to me to see how, Brandy will get on a plane and fly from Germany for the weekend to spend time with you guys. And Brett, I know, is on the West Coast, and it's the same thing. You've got something going on in the East. He's on a plane. And, as I'm raising a family, I have a daughter, I have a son on the way, and I can just only hope that, we're like that one day, because whether it's Tracy, who's like the warmest and the best and is so much fun to hang out with, and she was so good to Alex when they met in Chicago for the first time, just treated her like you treated me the first time we met. That's what I put on social media when you got into the Hall of Fame. I'm like, look, I was never a teammate of JR's on the ice, but off the ice, there's nobody who treats people better. Nobody who's more generous. You'll never picks up every tab, put your wallet away, invites you to the ball game, invites you to the football. There's just nobody like you. And that's been the best part for me. Like, watching you play was amazing, but everything I've got to experience with you has been Hall of Fame level human being. And I think that's why I was so happy when I saw that, because I've played with a couple of guys who are in the Hall of Fame, was teammates with Mark Recchi and a couple of other guys who will get in, but there's no one like you, man. There's nobody who does it like you do it.
Well, I appreciate that, Colby. Obviously those are kind words. I appreciate it. And, The fans were a big part of my career. I always say if it wasn't for the fan in sports, we would have just been a local men's league team with the arena down the street with a designated beer guy, right? That's pretty much what sports would be. That's what hockey would be. And, you got to love what you do. And when you're a part of a team, you got to make sure that you're supporting your team. And I try to do that as much as possible. My team now here, you just mentioned Tracy, like she's Captain Rock, right? So, I just go along and stay humble. And I know that's kind of new for me because for the longest time, humbleness was not my cup of tea. It was very outspoken. It was very in your face, and sometimes, with a lot of ego. But what you said, that was when I played. Right. That's when I was in a certain situation. You get me in another different situation, and it's just like, how can we help you? Whether it's charity or whether it's saying thank you to the fans or just being, helping other people do something that maybe they couldn't do. And that's always been a big part of my life and my career. And that's not going to change. And, the Hall of Fame brings a different entity to your persona. And, you got to act a certain way, once into those halls. And, I intend to, be that guy that's going to represent the Hall of Fame and my family the best way I know possible. And I'm really happy about it. I'm excited about it.
JR, we were kind of debating it before you hopped on here. And when there's obviously a lot of things we can talk about outside the Hall of Fame, but when you do go up there and give your speech, which team do you kind of associate yourself with the most? Because we know you had 2 stints in Arizona, you played in Philadelphia, all these different teams that you were a big part of that were also, I assume, a big part of you.
They all claim you, by the way.
Yeah,
like claims you.
We couldn't figure it out. So we thought we'd ask you yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Arizona retired my number, but I lived there for 25 years, but I'm really not not going to sit there and say that, Arizona was my team because, I lived there for 25 years and Arizona never reached out once for me to help them. So, there's no more team there anymore. That team is now in Utah and probably deservedly so. Philly was a huge part of my career, even though I only played 3 years and the 4th year was a lockout. I got a very, very quick introduction to Philadelphia sports, and we just matched perfectly. The Flyer fans, how they rooted, how they cheered for their team, their passion was how I played the game on the ice. So we just gelled, and everywhere I go, I still meet Flyer fans, and my reputation and my relationship with Flyer fans are still as strong as possibly can be. Unbelievably so, to tell you the truth. My love for them is huge. But when you have a team like Chicago who drafted me, they took a chance on me in 1988, especially a high school kid, 155 pounds out of high school. That was just unheard of in the 80s. High school kids were not drafted by the National Hockey League in the first round.
And they 8th overall, right?
Yeah, 8th overall, exactly, which is crazy. I had Jack Davison and another gentleman who was the East Coast scout. They literally put their jobs on the line and said, if you don't pick Roenick and at 8th, we're quitting. Sean Cody. These guys literally put their career on the line for Chicago to draft me. That means a lot. Playing 8 years in Chicago, having my obviously 250-goal seasons, 100-point seasons, my most affluent years in Chicago. But I don't think I get to pick what jersey comes. I think the Hall of Fame puts you in a jersey, and I would have to think it would be Chicago because of all those things that I kind of just outlaid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that's probably, having worked in Chicago for a couple of years, that city, they look at you as their own. There's no doubt about that. Doesn't matter where you go, whether it's, hey, I want to go to this restaurant, I'm friends with JR, or you would just text the restaurant for us. Like you have a key to that city as far as I'm concerned. But it is true in Philly. Like it was short in Philly. I was like 10, 11 years old, and this city rallied. It was big news when you came to Philadelphia. Ed Snyder made sure of it. And man, did this city that I live in. I don't live in the city anymore, but this city, man, they look at you as one of their own. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I would say that in the East Coast, Philly's my team, and the West Coast, Chicago's my team. So I've won in each conference. So that's how I get away with it.
I do remember you shedding some tears on NBC when the Blackhawks won the Cup in 2010 too.
It's kind of funny you said that too.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I got a lot of crap by the Flyer fans for doing that, and I said, "Hey, listen," I said, "if the Flyers would have won, you probably would have seen the same reaction because I wanted to win so badly for that city." And still, played as hard as I possibly can to win for that city. And I say to people that say that, I say, hey, listen, it's not my fault. I didn't lose. The Flyers lost. The Flyers lost. If they wanted to see me, what kind of reaction I would have gotten if Flyer fans would have won, then Flyers should have won, but they didn't. So, it wasn't my fault that I happened to play for 8 years for the other team that I was, shedded blood, sweat, tears, for too. So,
well, I think both those cities, the reason the fans loved you so much, and I do think, obviously Philly's its own beast when it comes to the fans and the city and everything. But I think both of those fan bases appreciated like the fact that, yeah, like you were Showtime, but you also would punch a guy in the face and then you'd score 50 goals and you never took a night off. And like the term we always use now is this guy drags his team into the fight. I don't know if that term was popular in the 90s, JR, but that's what you did. You did that as a goal scorer.
Very much.
That's why Philly loved you.
It's like they say, it's either you're a good leader, and if you're not a good leader, you better be a damn good follower. And I just like to be the guy out in front. And if you love the game as much as I love to play the game, you went out there and just did it at top speed. And there's something about scoring a goal. There's something about making assists. There's something about throwing a puck to a fan. There's something about knocking somebody out with a shoulder check. There's a lot of great things that come along with the game that I really enjoyed. And, I really respected the people paid a lot of money to go watch, to come to an arena, to leave their home after a busy day, spend their hard-earned money to buy a very expensive ticket to come watch us play. And I tried to give them the best entertainment that I could, both on and off the ice. And I think more athletes should be more in tune and more aware of the sacrifices that fans give to watch and to be fans of a team, and to give that gratitude, not only just with your actions or your talking or, but by your play and your play night in and night out.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, you did that as a broadcaster, and I think that's why people loved you on TV and why they identified with you as a broadcaster, because you brought the passion.
I don't know about that, but I did bring that. But I think they liked me too because I messed up so many words and I made fun of myself all over.
You went hard though.
Yeah, I did. No.
You didn't. Everybody sugarcoats everything on TV. Very few guys are willing to actually say what they think, and like. Fans say what they think. Even if they're wrong, they yell and scream and say what they think. And like you brought that to the panel when you were on it.
Well, I think fans deserve that. Again, that's why they watch. They don't watch to listen to cliches. They don't watch for somebody to say, yeah, we brought 100% and we did a good job and we tried our hardest. No, they don't want to do that. They want to hear what you really think of the game. And you ask somebody who you don't like, they don't want to hear, I liked everybody. No, it's not true. They, tell that fans like to hear certain things. So I tried to give it to them. Yeah. I tried to give them as much as I possibly could. And again, at points in my life, I was very different. I was very outspoken. I was very controversial. Maybe one of the reasons why it took me so long to get to the Hall. But the fact of the matter is I'm here. I'm 54 years old. I'm at a different point in my life that I'm really looking forward to the golden age years, literally, seriously, and knowing that, I can't get any higher in terms of sports in terms of the Hall of Fame. And again, I'm going to reiterate, it's not just my Hall of Fame. It's my family. It's my family's Hall of Fame, and that we're going to celebrate that together.
Honestly, JR, I'm not sure how I want to phrase this, but I'm just going to kind of let my brain do the talking and not really think about it. But, I've heard you like tell stories about, gambling and stuff, like, the Sunday afternoon game, you look at the
Mhm.
out of town scores, the football scores, and you have a good laugh about it. I've talked to a couple players. Not everyone is willing to speak on it, but where sports gambling is right now, like as a fan, it's thrown at
Yeah.
you, it's in your face on TV. I'm kind
Yeah.
of wondering what you make of that and what you would have thought about it in your playing day if gambling was so, I guess popular as it is right now. And I know you're open
Yeah.
to talking about it, so I'm kind of curious.
Yeah. I mean, I'm obviously fine with it. I was always a big gambler. There's no question about it, and that's not a secret. And I think, gambling has become a very big part of society. And obviously, you're seeing everything that's happening with all the gambling sites, and NHL allowing gambling, but not within the players. And I think it's really important that the leagues really police their own players extremely hard, and knowing that there's a lot of negativity and a lot of bad things that can happen through the gambling, and has in the past. But it's a big business. It's a lot like the drug business, like marijuana. I always say that the government should be the bookie and the dealer. Why don't they just take over everything, right? People are going to do it. It's inevitable. And more obviously, the government is passing more laws. States are passing more laws. I just think it has to be very, very regulated and controlled by the leagues. And all these sites and all these things that are doing things, they have to make sure that they do it responsibly by giving people that get problems, that generate problems off of it, or have help and have access to help. So that's very important. But
Yeah.
it's a sticky situation, but it is our life. And unfortunately, just like everything I just said, it's going to happen no matter what. So either jump on board and help regulate it, or it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah. I only ask because you talked about like the fandom, and I just think like the fan experience has changed so much because now, I've heard it in every arena. Like you don't have teams or fans necessarily cheering for their teams; they're cheering for their props. And like I just, I wonder if you heard back in the '90s, Roenick, get a fucking shot on goal, like how you would have handled it.
Yeah, they listen. They're entitled to that.
Yeah.
And we just hope that people don't make bets with their heart. You have to make bets with your head. And, usually the people that make bets with their heart are, not going to do too well. But hey, listen, that's part of sports, though. If that's what they want to do. People yelled at me and they weren't gambling. Just whatever. It's okay.
Well, the best run I ever had at a craps table was following your lead at Aria. And when I was just there for the draft, I walked by that table that we went on, that massive heater. I'd never even played craps before, but man, I walked away from that table with a shitload of money.
I've never played it either. Colby, you have to teach me.
Doesn't happen. Hey, Colby, it doesn't happen too often, so stay away.
Listen, I felt I'm counting my lucky stripes on that, but I'm glad Johnny got a little more present, because the last thing I wanted to bring up and talk to you before we're going to let you go here, JR, is the World Cup and the Olympics and what it means to represent your team. You got to do it in some epic battles, and it seems like international hockey is now back on the table. I mean, we worked in Olympics together. That was hard to watch without the NHL guys there. I mean, the hockey was terrible compared to what we would have liked to have seen. And so I'm just curious your thoughts on the fact that it's not truly the World Cup, it's the Four Nations tournament or whatever, because they were missing some of the best nations. And then we've got the Olympics. I mean, are you somebody that's a big believer in this, and you really want to see these young stars? And what do you think USA's chances are this time around?
I think it's awesome to play for your own country. The Olympics to me is the echelon of sports, right? You can't get higher in sports. So to be able to represent your country in the Olympics is very, very special. So I'm not against the league being in the Olympics. I understand there's a lot of games stopping the season mid-season for a couple of weeks in order for everybody to do that. You got to remember these players in Russia and Czech Republic and Finland and Sweden, that's like the world championships in the Olympics. That's almost bigger than than the Stanley Cup. So, and I think you can argue that fact, but It is really cool to watch nations battle against each other. I've always been a big fan of it. You're going to have injuries. There are going to be economic issues, obviously. Guys that are going to go over and play in the Olympics that are going to play 2 extra weeks where everybody else is going to get the time off in the NHL. Yeah, you can argue and bark at it, but still, it's big money. It's great entertainment. It's good exposure, and it's still the Olympics. And I think it's great that they're going to be back in, because I agree with you. Colby, hockey, the men's hockey in Korea was painful to watch, and the Four Nations Cup is going to be great. It's too bad that Russia's not going to be involved. It's kind of tough that they only picked 4 nations, and they're leaving out a couple really good countries not to be a part of it, but maybe they come in the next years. But I think USA is probably has become a real powerhouse over the many years here, starting in '96 when we won the World Cup in '96, then getting to the Olympics in 2002, getting to the final. Now we got a whole slew of Americans that literally put us up, and if not the best team in the world, it's definitely top 2 with Canada for sure.
Do you have a favorite moment that sticks out from international play? I mean, we may be able to guess it, but anything that really jumps out for you?
Yeah, of course. One I played in, one I didn't. Right. So the 2002 gold medal game against Canada, we lost, but it was an epic game. Right. It was just, that's where we made it as a nation. We were a superpower at that point. I didn't play in the '96 Cup because of a contract dispute, World Cup, which I still don't. I mean, I wish I loved to be a part of it, but I don't regret my decision because it was right during my peak earning years, and I didn't have a contract. I go over to World Cup and play and get hurt. Now all of a sudden, my peak earning years are done, and I just wasn't willing to take that chance at 26 years old. And then 1980 Olympics, watching that. I mean, that was one of the biggest mental things that I remember watching in all of international sports. The biggest and most unbelievable upset in sports history.
Mm-hmm. JR, I just got one more for you, and I know you look comfy over there, but I'm putting you on the hot seat here. We don't get to talk to current NHL players that are open and honest about where they'd want to go while we're recording live. If you're a free agent right now, we talk about these no income state tax teams, and that's a popular conversation now. Yeah. What team are you picking to go to right now? If you're a free agent, let's say, 33 years old, NHL free agent, what team are you going to?
There's 2 teams I would go to pick, and obviously Las Vegas is one of them, and Nashville would be another. Mm-hmm. And not just because of the state taxes and all that stuff, but the way of living, the style of life in Tennessee, the action. It's a wonderful, wonderful state. The fans there are fantastic. If you ever watch a game there, it's those 2 buildings, Nashville and Vegas, are the 2 most exciting places to watch a game as entertainment and fan participation go. Vegas is obviously it's a nightclub with a hockey game going on, and in Nashville, it's all the goalie's fault. It's all your fault. It's just, there's a lot of great things between those cities that bring, when you want to live places where you can enjoy your life, not be bothered outside of the rink, and there's great places in Vegas. You live away from the strip. It's a great place to play. And obviously, yes, you have the no income tax aspect, puts 10% more into your pocket, which is a great thing.
I remember when I was there doing a game years ago, their first ever playoff game. You were there and you did the what is it, like the horn or whatever?
In Vegas,
yeah,
really?
and I blistered my whole hand up because it
no way
moving in my hand. Yeah, and I had a big golf match the next day at Shadow Creek, and my hands were all blistered, so it was not good.
Yeah, that was the night you took us to dinner. You took us to a show. I mean, it was like, oh, you're in town. This is great. Like, my night's all planned out. Just hang with JR. One of the many.
Yeah, it was a good time. And listen, you talk about Nashville. I'm going to be really excited to watch Steven Stamkos play in Nashville this year. Mm-hmm. What happened with him in the offseason and the way that the Tampa Bay Lightning treated him is an absolute disgrace and a disaster. And it's amazing to me what happened with Steven Stamkos. I'm a big fan of his, what he did for that city. To offer somebody $3 million as a 40-goal scorer, a point-a-game guy,
crazy
is literally mind-blowing. There's something way bigger behind the scenes on this one. I don't know what it is, Vigneault. I don't know what's going on here, but there is
and they
definitely
give Hedman the same contract that he got in Nashville. You know,
there's something very, very odd, and something else that I hope it someday comes out, because Steven Stamkos is one of the classiest people on the planet. He did take less money to stay in Tampa, 5 or 6 years ago, which allowed them to keep Point, keep Kucherov, keep Hedman, keep a team that won a Stanley Cup and went to the Stanley Cup Finals 4 out of 5 years in a row, whatever the case may be. Steven Stamkos deserves to be treated better than he was treated at the end of his career in Tampa, and it's just a disgrace.
Totally agree. I think it was completely mismanaged, and then of course he takes the high road. He'll never talk about it because it's the kind of guy he is. JR, look, we appreciate it. We're getting you out of the sun in the middle of the day in the summer. Give Tracy, our best. If you do want to hear JR, by the way, catch him on his show that he does with PLZ, Snipes and Stripes. How often do you guys record that show, JR?
We usually do it every Wednesday and Monday, but we, because of our busy schedules, we take the summer off, and we will start up again in September when camp starts, and get it rolling again. But we had a lot of fun. Thanks for pushing that. And anybody likes whiskey, my whiskeyinthewild.com, best chocolate whiskey you ever have. Check it out.
I can attest to that. I have tried it, and it is very, very good. We'll make sure we drop that link when we put the show out live tomorrow. But yeah, the show with PLZ is funny. You guys are kind of the perfect yin and yang on that show, and I love that it's not all like we agree with each other. You guys definitely have different points of view, so it's a good.
Of course, we don't agree with each other. He's a referee. Yeah. I'm a hockey player, right? So we never got along on the ice. But PLZ's a great man. He's one of my best friends. We have a great time together. It's nice to get two different kind of viewpoints, one from a player, one from a referee. So it adds a nice dimension. So I appreciate you giving it a plug.
Absolutely. All right, man. Look, have a good day. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the rest of your summer. We can't wait for the introduction to the Hall of Fame. Thanks for coming on. Super proud of you, man. I'm always, I like to brag about the fact that I can call you a friend, because it's just seriously something that I still have to be like, wow, like one of the coolest parts about what I've done in life is I get to be friends with JR and his family. So love you, pal.
You're kind. All the best to the family, and give that new baby a big hug and kiss. Okay.
All right.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.